If you're looking for a spy thriller action movie that's directed by a director who seems to be obsessed with the notion of time and how everything like that works, Tenet is the movie for you. Now, this is going to be a spoiler review, just warning you guys ahead of time. Please do not watch ahead if you don't want spoilers for the movie. Now, I know this movie came out about 3 months ago, and I just watched it for the first time today. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I wanted to wait until I got to get back into movie theaters. This was one of those movies from Nolan which I was like, okay, I need to see this in theaters because I was too young when The Dark Knight came out and then when The Dark Knight Rises came out. And I didn't really watch Dunkirk in theaters, just wasn't my vibe. I'm not a fan of war movies. But Tenet, I honestly think I should have waited till theaters, but I'm glad I got to it. I'm glad I saw it, and I'm glad that's checked off of my list of movies to watch. So you might be wondering, Aryan, how did you watch the movie if you didn't go to theaters to watch it? Well, it's available on Amazon Prime. For $19.99, you can buy it and watch it. But I decided to watch it a different way. So this movie is directed by Christopher Nolan, as every single one of you who's watching this review knows. John David Washington starred in it as Neil, and Robert Pattinson played alongside him, as well as Elizabeth Debicki. All three of them played their roles phenomenally. I admit that the comedy was not sticking in the beginning at all for me. And in a movie that was as action heavy as Tenet was, there was no place for comedy to me. But I ended up actually liking it. As the movie went on, I felt more comfortable with the comedy, and it actually made sense, and it didn't feel like it was super out of place. As I mentioned before, it seems like Christopher Nolan is obsessed with the notion of time and how it works. And we saw that from Inception. But I feel like this movie, in terms of mentally, takes it a step further because now it's not just humans that are moving through time, but it's objects that are moving through time. And I feel like that makes it 10 times more complicated than it was before. I know a lot of people's gripe with this movie was that there's too much going on. I love when a film confuses me. I love when a film makes me want to go and rewatch it. Now, I, for one, wasn't as confused towards the end. I kind of came up with a scenario that made me feel like I understood what was happening. Now, my scenario that I came up with could have been a full 180 from what Nolan was thinking. But that doesn't mean that I'm necessarily wrong, because I feel like he put it up to interpretation, as he did the same with Inception. One of my favorite parts of the movie was the villain, and his name is Saltor. So basically, Saltor's mission in the movie is to explode the bomb. But the bomb is attached to a fitness tracker, and that fitness tracker measures Saltor's heart rate. If his heart rate drops and he dies, then the bomb goes off. So he's basically bringing the world down with him when he dies. One of my biggest reasons of loving Saltor's character so much is that he just abolishes every scene that he's in. Now, I think the villain did make the movie more of like a spy thriller, and I'm not complaining because the villain was super good in this movie. There was a slight issue in the sounds in this movie. Now, I think ever since The Dark Knight Rises, when Tom Hardy played Bane, the volume has always been a little bit weird. The mix has always kind of gone sound effects, soundtrack, and then dialogue. Now, I don't think that's the best mix. I kind of want to hear what the people are saying. Now, as I mentioned before, I did watch it at home, so I had subtitles, but I really do feel bad for those who watched it in theaters because at some points I could not hear what they were saying on screen. One of my biggest issues with this movie was that it was kind of emotionally empty at times. Actually, no, not at times. Almost the entire movie, it was literally just emotionally absent. John David Washington's character, the protagonist, literally only cares about Elizabeth Debicki's character at times. We barely know anything about most of the characters. And yes, this movie is marvelous, fantastic, excellent in every other quality except for emotional connection. As I said before, we know little to nothing about these characters, and it seems as if protagonist is just there. We have no backstory on him, we have no history, we have no reason to love or hate the character. Elizabeth Debicki's character is honestly the most emotionally there and emotionally concurrent character, but even then, we don't know too much about her. She has a few subplots, and yes, all of those are amazing, but it doesn't do enough to make up for those emotionally absent moments. The protagonist's entire reasoning for being in the movie, I guess, or like his storyline in the movie, is basically revolving around Elizabeth Debicki's character. He's doing all of this to help one person, and I understand, obviously, it has that bigger cause of stopping that bomb and stopping the world ending basically, but other than like that one huge thing, the subplots are generically weak. As a lead, the protagonist is not an interesting character at all. As I said before, we have no emotional attachment and we have no reason to love or hate this character. To me, the protagonist feels like he's just there to communicate Nolan's story to us instead of actually being a human in the moment. Now, I know we all want to compare this movie to Inception, and I think we can rightfully do so. In Inception, they do the same exact thing. They keep a lot of the characters' secrets bottled up, but we know that they're all working towards one big goal. We know why Cobb is there getting everyone together and getting everyone to do all these things. They all have one central goal. Now in Tenet, that is there, but at the same time, not really. Nolan is like bottling up a lot of stuff for you, right? And you never really get to unbottle that stuff. You never get to really open that bottle up and see what emotions, what storytelling, what background is lying in there. And even when you get to the end, that bottle slightly opens up, but even then, you don't get much. You only get enough to where you recontextualize entirety of what happened before that moment. That's it. You don't get anything more than that. You only get enough to make you rethink what's happened. Now, okay, this isn't the worst thing, right? It makes me want to go back, rewatch the movie, many of you would say, but I feel like it just makes the movie more plot heavy. It doesn't really enhance the characters around the movie, whereas in Inception, at the end, when the characters got their goal, everyone's character was enlightened, or at least the main character's story was enlightened, and obviously he's the main character for a reason. We know his background, we know his history, we know what emotions he's feeling, and we know why. In this movie, what we learn at the end doesn't help the protagonist or Neil or even Elizabeth Debicki's character. It only strengthens the plot. Really quickly, I want to go over the 3 pillars. I've already talked about 2 and we have 1 more left. The first pillar, this one is the plot. This is the heaviest pillar out of the entire movie, and this is basically what's holding it all up. Second off, we have characters. This is the weakest one. This one has nothing. This pillar is here to be here. This pillar doesn't suffice us with anything. It doesn't give us anything new. And if anything, this is what's bringing the entire tower down. Now, the third pillar is what I want to talk about right now, which is visuals. Visuals in this movie, which is, like I said before, the third pillar, is another very, very, very strong suited thing in this movie, as it is in every Nolan film, whether it's Dunkirk, Interstellar, Inception, or any of the Dark Knight trilogy movies. The visuals in this movie just keep you appealed. Now, I'm not just talking about the plane explosions and the buildings falling, but I'm just talking about the way the camera is handled in this movie. It is beautiful. The way the camera is handled in this movie really makes me feel more invested in the action. Everyone who watches Nolan's films knows that he's one of the most daring filmmakers in the modern movie era. Overall, I give this movie an 8.5 and honestly could go up to a 9. But as of now, I'm sticking with an 8.5. So that's it for this video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to drop a like rating down below. I hope you guys stayed till the end because I had a lot of fun talking about this movie. If you guys want more movie reviews or superhero related content, let me know by dropping a like rating or just commenting. Hit that subscribe button if you do enjoy the content and make sure to turn those notifications on so you get notified anytime I go live on the channel or when I upload a new video. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.